If you still have technical knowledge in how to play a piano or how to, whatever it is that you learn, really your talent will shine through in whatever way it is. Because people who are really using it in a slightly different way, technology and originality have always been completely synonymous with each other.
This episode of Music Not Diving is brought to you by Jägermeister's Save the Night. Born in 2020 as part of the emergency response to the pandemic, Save the Night has since grown into a global platform that provides support for people and ideas keeping nightlife alive. Through its annual fund, Jägermeister provides 156,000 euros to provide mentorship, funding, and visibility for a range of bold projects, from stuff like making dance floors more accessible, greener club nights, and amplifying voices from grassroots creative communities. Nightlife is more than just entertainment. It's culture, it's connection, it's community, and together we can protect it for the future. Applications are open right now for the Save the Night Fund. If you're a creative, a promoter, a venue owner, or just someone who cares deeply about making our culture safer, more inclusive, and just generally better, then this is your chance to bring your vision to life. Check out Jägermeister.com/exploration/save the night. That's Jägermeister.com/exploration/save the night. Music Not Diving is brought to you by Acid Nation. What is Acid Nation? Well, it is a direct-to-consumer platform. So if you're selling music as an artist or a label, or if you're a music fan just looking to buy direct from your favorite artists or labels, this is a great place for you to be. What is the difference between Acid Nation and other D2C platforms? Well, they have a ton of ancillary services, extras that they do that goes above and beyond the other players in this space. For example, they have their own pressing plant. They can fulfill vinyl orders on demand, ship them out directly to your fans. That is basically unprecedented in the sector. They have a streaming platform built into their platform, which pays out 1 cent per stream, the mythical 1 cent per stream, pretty amazing. They have free storage and a fulfillment service. So this is just a great thing, generally speaking. We use it for hot flush recordings. We couldn't recommend them highly enough. And of course, they're also supporting your favorite music podcast, which is of course this one. So I suggest you head over to acidnation.com and check them out.
This is Music Not Diving with Scuba.
Welcome to Music Not Diving. I'm Scuba. We're here at ADE at Bunk. Thanks to Bunk for putting us on. I'm joined by the mighty Dot Major.
Hello.
How you doing, Dot?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I believe you just come from the main conference where you had a bit of an experience. Tell me about that experience.
Well, so we were doing a conference with Night Manoeuvres, my new project with Anthony and Anthony McGinley, who's absolute. And we had planned to do an hour of moderator talking, and then we arrived and realized that there was no moderator. So I was like, how come there's 2 chairs here? Obviously, we discussed actually doing an interview. So we had a sort of 5-minute performance at the start, and then we were going to get into like a sort of, what we thought was a bit of a conversation, and then we had to do the hour ourselves. And then when I said to her, should we just do 45 minutes, us, and then we'll do Q&A? She said, oh, well, it's an hour and a half as well. But
okay.
It was good. It actually went really well.
So what were you actually talking about? What was the...
we were kind of talking about the kind of hybridization of live performance versus basically like moving from studio into live performance.
Right.
And then, but we kind of, because we had to fill up a bit more time, we dug into like getting into projects and all that sort of thing.
Okay.
It's cool. Yeah.
So yeah, Night Manoeuvres. This is the capacity in which you're appearing here. Tell me about Night Manoeuvres. What is the nature of it?
So Night Manoeuvres is, I first met Anthony, who's absolute, it must have been a couple of years ago now. And we met at a friend of ours, DJ Boring, Tristan. He was playing at an afters he's playing at the show with Disclosure. We're doing a party, who were friends of mine as well. And then we met very late. We met at probably 3:30, 4 a.m. or something, like they say.
It's a good time.
Nothing good ever happens after 4 a.m. So we met this afters. We decided that we were going to just get in the studio for probably just start as like one kind of jam, and then it sort of snowballed into something. So it's been a bit of a process of, it wasn't that, it's kind of, and it was never like the intention of it being the sort of project it is originally. So it happened quite naturally. And then now we're kind of just become the thing we're doing now. And we signed to Fabric. We just started putting out releases this year. We actually played our first show last year in the Crane at ADE, which is quite wild.
Right. Yes, we were just discussing this off camera. Describe to people who are not aware, including myself, actually, what the Crane is and why it was good to play.
The Crane is like it's a crane. It's basically this. It's kind of. I think there's a guy basically owns / I don't think lives, but maybe it's sort of. It's kind of mildly thematically sex hotelish, but it's also
in a genre.
Yeah, but it's also so it has sort of 2 rooms, and then basically they have this kind of venue room which is like quite high up, and it's quite a wild party. I think it's pretty small. It's maybe 100 people. So we did it last year as like a kind of back to back with this girl Mia Lily, and it was crazy. I was just saying to you at like 3 a.m. we were kind of we'd finished our set and everyone was kind of backstage at the Crane, and this guy comes in who I think was like the owner of the Crane, and I think it felt like he was there to sort of like edge people away, and actually it turns out he was there to turn it over into the next party. So
okay,
it was very Amsterdam.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've been equating myself with with this project and also your solo stuff too, because of course I think most people watching this will most be familiar with your work with London Grammar, of course, but the stuff that you've done outside of that has been very obviously much more dance-y. So what's your kind of history musically? What's your kind of relationship with dance music? We are at the Amsterdam Dance Event. So clearly this probably should be the focus of what we're talking about. But yeah, what's been your relationship with dance music?
Well, it's really interesting actually. I was similarly thinking with regards to you, because I think like I first really got into dance music when I was really I guess at university, and I mean I grew up much more, I was kind of like classically trained and was playing, and I was more into like I guess music that informed the version of what I was doing. So I was kind of.
What was your instrument?
So piano and drums. I kind of bit of a jack of all trades, I guess. But I was quite classically trained in piano and drums, and I kind of. So I was listening to a lot of like classical music and jazz outside of like pop and like metal and kind of stuff that's like technically oriented, I would say, I guess. And then really actually. It was when I first started getting into electronic music. It was I went to Nottingham Uni, and
music.
I didn't do music, no. So I was studying music my whole life, and then I kind of got bored of the like the idea of studying it. Really,
that was exactly what happened to me.
Yeah.
I did it formally up to 18, and then was like presented with the potential of doing a 3-year music degree, and was just like, don't know about that.
Yeah, I think this is why people get so obsessed with the idea of. Doing something else, because I think anything that you take to its furthest degree, or even that you do for a living, it does become somewhat, your relationship with it changes. I think so. So I didn't really want to study it anymore. So, and then it was kind of interesting. It was a bit of like a sort of Alan Watts philosophy lesson of like, when you let go, then it kind of comes to you. So I fully had let go. When I was a teenager, I was like, we're going to go and do these gigs and we're going to get this and blah, blah. And then I'd let go of the idea of it being necessarily what I was going to do for a living. And I ended up meeting the 2 guys like Dan and Hannah, none of us were studying music at the time. But then I had this.
So did you meet?
We all met at uni. So then one of my good friends who I live with was a huge like electronic music head. And he so we used to go to Stealth a lot. And it was really interesting because when I first went to Stealth, I mean, I went to uni in like 2009, so it was like 2009 to 2011, which was like the
Stealth, like,
so it was like
period,
that was kind of the zenith of the original dubstep period in the UK, and like I think I actually remember that tune that you put out, the Joyo tune, Humph Mango. I always pronounce it wrong. How do you pronounce it?
Five Mango, I believe.
Yeah. So, but like I always that tune was kind of. That was probably the first electronic tune I remember really, really making a big impact.
Yeah, that must have come out like your first time at uni or something.
Yeah, I think it was around then.
Yes.
And then from there, that's kind of why I started to bring, I guess, more electronic aspects into the stuff I was doing with the band. because of that period. I mean, Stealth was an amazing club, I think.
I mean, it genuinely was.
It really was.
Especially the second room was like my favorite room. The main room was a little bit too much of a kind of theatre thing, but the second room was
the upstairs one by the bar.
Yeah, with a slightly lower ceiling and just a proper kind of sweaty kind of pit.
I remember seeing like Hudmo playing there when I was at my team, and that was like pretty impactful. Yeah,
awesome. So, would you say that what is the importance of dance music then to you? Like,
to me,
did it ever like take over completely?
I think I don't. Pretty much, yeah. But I'd say electronic music did. Right. This is like a really interesting question of like, and actually something. So with Night Manoeuvres, I think it's why Anthony and I collaborate so well, is because I don't know if you know of a guy called Ross Allen, manager. So he used to be our manager years ago, and he was really influential on me getting into electronic music as well. And I think for him, when I started making club music or whatever, it was like I couldn't think of it within the context of actually what it is to make people dance, because I've never been like big into dancing myself. Right. And it's kind of like, I love electronic music and I love dance music, but I think partly why I even got into music was like, I love being on the other side of the stage, you know. And I think
right, and you hadn't been a DJ either.
No, I'd never been a DJ. So I think with Ross, he always told me like, you need to make sure, like he just emphasized the kind of the importance of like rolling dynamics and like bringing, and there's elements of repetition that I just wasn't used to writing from a more pop context, I guess you could say. Yeah. So with Night Manoeuvres, what's great is like Ant's really, you know, he has a history of like a very long history of DJing. He has a very long history of also like he was running club nights and stuff. So I think he just understands what it is to make people move. And I think so quite often we'll be in the studio and I'll be kind of running around, just doing like playing various instruments, and then he'll just be like, "Dude, you had it half an hour ago. Like, right, why are you still going?" Kind of.
Yeah, I mean that's the eternal thing. The endless tinkering and then making it worse. Absolutely. So I mean, I wasn't going to ask you about this, but you've piqued my interest now. So how quickly did London Grammar come together after you all met? Like, how quickly did it gel? Like,
it was fairly quick. So we kind of, I guess, we were doing club night. There was an acoustic circuit in London at the time, which was like the Bedford, the Elgin and Ballon. Elgin was in West London. Then there was like the Troubadour, and we were playing these shows down in London. We were driving down from Nottingham and playing them. And to be honest, it happened fairly quickly, because I actually remember one day Dan saying to us over dinner, he was like, "Guys, you know, I'm going to have to go have a go at this for a year, and then I might have to get like a proper job." And I was like, "Dude, Biffy Clyro took 7 years to make it," like, you know. and then honestly, 2 months later, we played a show in London, and there was someone from Universal who was there, and we were like, he asked if we had a lawyer, and we were like, "Oh my God, we've made it."
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right. And was that the deal you ended up signing?
No. But it's just, I think it really changed my opinion of what it means. I think because I'm from Northamptonshire originally, and I think my brother, funny enough, is also a musician, and I think I always had the attitude that that it might you might not necessarily be seen, but I think that actually, I think the truth is, if you're doing whatever you're doing, you will eventually get seen. It's whether or not people appreciate it or not. But I think the fact that it happened the way it did, you have to be in a place where you're surrounded by it. Obviously, like I think London, it just has this amazing ability to allow people to be able to nourish their talent, but also to be seen ultimately, which maybe is a shame that it's. I think
it's just reality.
It's just the reality.
Yeah. And there are other key places around the world that, just where the industry is. I mean, it is an industry at the end of the day. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I mean, for better or for worse, but like, you've got to be in a position where people are able to take notice of you.
Like, just look at where we are now. It's kind of,
I know, exactly.
Like, everyone is here. It's quite mental.
AD is the absolute, the best example of it.
Yeah.
In this part of the industry, this little corner of the industry. But I mean, with London Grammar stuff, it's elements of dance have come into it, and we were talking about our mutual friends, George Fitzgerald, who's gradually become slightly more involved in the production side, and he's obviously a dance music person. How was that kind of integrated, and to what extent was it him? To what extent did you decide to introduce more dancing stuff into it?
I guess it was kind of like, I sort of personally was just like, I gravitated towards the laptop. I don't really, I think I've barely ever really played drums on records, full drum kits on records of London Grammar. So whereas
Was your initial role in the band just going to be the drummer?
well, it was kind of like I was like playing a djembe, doing a bit of EVs, playing a bit of whatever, like piano, whatever. Like I even played a bit of guitar, like but really I just sort of I was kind of a lot of the time when we were doing acoustic gigs, I would be playing like the djembe, but because it was like an acoustic thing. But I think I just
say djembe at psytrance raves.
Yeah, exactly. So then it's like, you know, I do. Then you kind of you have this subliminal.
I should never
yeah.
that on.
Well, neither of us admitted it. It's fine. We can cut all the djembe out. No, but like, it's kind of funny. Then you become subliminally in your head. You're like, oh, you know, like the cajon guy, and you're like, I don't want to be the cajon guy. But I think I think with the laptop thing, I just became so, it was kind of like a computer game to me. And I used to love computer games. So I was like, I can play a computer game and make music. And I became really obsessed with it. And then I think naturally that kind of brought more and more in. And then obviously we signed to Ministry of Sound. So naturally they were...
Oh, I didn't realise that.
Yeah,
Oh,
so we
great.
signed to Ministry really early on. And they didn't really have any sort of bands at the time. And so I think that relationship kind of became more of a thing. And then with George, it was really interesting because like I think of George quite similarly really in the sense of like I don't imagine him, it's like I don't imagine him as like a big dance guy. He's an electronic music guy, do you know what I mean, in a way, but he knows how to make music that makes people move.
Sure.
And I had a really amazing, we did a stream with him where we were playing, we had like strings and we had a choir. It was after the third album California Soil, and George said to me, because we were rehearsing for the stream and I was sort of running around doing various things and he was he said like he kind of said like that he regretted not having the same, I guess, grounding in like the live industry or gigs. The growing up, I played so many gigs just in different bands and stuff, and then but the thing is George, what I have missed is what George has, which is like he really cut his teeth as a DJ.
Yeah.
And I think I came into DJing really late, and again with Ant with Night Manoeuvres, that's the thing, like and just has this, you can't really replace that knowledge of growing up and doing something for a long time, especially like formatively doing it. So I kind of came into DJing quite late, and I can learn, technically I picked up DJing really quickly. I know how to, and I think people are too obsessed with the technical aspects of DJing. Like how to, like anyone can, and that's why people get funny about using the sync button and stuff, but really it's like...
opinions are divided on this.
Of course, but it doesn't really matter. Like ultimately what matters is you're really a selector. You're meant to take people on a journey, and these are the things you understand.
That is one perspective on it.
I suppose, yeah. I mean,
okay, you're about 15 minutes into this episode, so well done for sticking around so long. I'm just going to take this opportunity to tell you about the ways you can support the show if you're enjoying what we're doing here. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/ScubaOfficial. You can donate to us with a one-off donation too, if you like, scubaofficial.io/support. But what we really want you to do actually is just like this video and leave a comment. Tell us what you think of it. Honestly, everyone says that, but it really does make a difference. And with that, thanks. I mean, the reason I put it out, I point this out is because we had DJ Bone on the show a couple of weeks ago, who is very much a kind of old school Detroit purist, and I'm kind of in between these two points of view actually. But he was very much just like, if you're a DJ, you should learn to beat match on vinyl, otherwise you're not really a DJ. Do you know what I mean? And that is it's a point of view that I have a lot of respect for actually, you know. But if you're looking at it from a purely, you know, pragmatic 2025 perspective, of course it's not true. You know, and of course you don't have to do it to be a good DJ and to play a good set and to rock a dance floor. Of course it's not necessary, but you know, like I said, opinions are divided.
I think I actually put, we'd been working together for a couple of months, like on the Night Maneuver stuff. And then I just said to Ant, I think it was even maybe longer, like 6 months. And we were just kind of hanging at my house one night. And I just handed him a random vinyl, like from something I was playing with DJ. I was just like, just mix that into whatever this is. I had no idea. I knew that he had DJ'd a lot, but I had no idea if he would just do it. And then he just mixed this like impossible record in quite perfectly. And I thought there's something to be learned about just trust and the people that you meet and eventually like how you get rewarded for that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's something to be said for just technical skill for its own sake.
Yeah.
As well.
You know?
Yeah, I think. I mean, as someone who's obviously, you know, spent a lot of time practicing musical instruments, there is a point to it. Like just as I said, just for the sake of doing it. You know, you do. It's not just I'm doing it to get good at it. It's the process of doing it gives you something as well. I think to some extent, anyway.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, ultimately, otherwise we just would all we don't really need to do anything anymore anyway.
Well,
You need to
I mean,
learn to
that-
speak any language and speak your own language.
I know. I mean, how do you feel about this? Because I mean, I've often we've often talked on the show about the way music tech is developed, and most of the developments are seemingly to remove barriers to people doing stuff. You know, making that kind of technical knowledge less valuable. I mean, how do you feel about that, generally speaking, as a kind of on a sort of philosophical level?
I think in the end, I just feel like it's there's almost no point in winding yourself up to think that you would care that much about it, because ultimately, like, no human beings have always, technology has always wins in the end, and we create technology. So I don't think that, for me, I think as long as if people have, it's easier for them to express their ideas. Another question is whether it makes people's ideas more algorithmic. That's just another whole conversation. But I certainly don't think that people being, I think if you still have technical knowledge in how to play a piano or how to, whatever it is that you learn, really your talent will shine through in whatever way it is. Because people who are really using it in a slightly different way, technology and originality have always been completely synonymous with each other. Like, the Beatles were considered one of the most original bands in the world. They came around at a time of a lot of technological advancements in studio. HYPH Twin came around at a time where computers were things that you could start making music on. And I think technology and originality have always coexisted, but I think that it's how you use it. So
yeah, I mean, I suppose that's what I've got at, but with the point that many of the technological developments have been really less about making sound and more about easing kind of workflow.
Yeah,
I would sort of, my instinct is to contrast that with the kinds of developments that the Beatles were able to kind of leverage. And, you know, HYPH Twin circuit bending is, you know, SH101 and all the rest of it. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a slightly different thing to, you know, Ableton becoming ubiquitous, which on the one hand is extremely good, I think, just for the ability of people to make music, which is in of itself, I think, a good thing. It's good, you know, on a spiritual level for people to make music. You know, you just get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Whether it's necessarily good, at the risk of sounding pretentious, for the art per se, is perhaps a different question. I don't know. What do you think about that?
But then if you think, really, it's barrier to entry, isn't it? So really now anyone can make music.
Is that good though?
Well, it is, because there's like 8 billion people on the planet, and the more of them that have the ability to make it, I think, is ultimately a good thing. And
is it good? Is it a good thing to have 8 billion cookie cutter tech house producers?
Well, I mean, we're on the way, so
Hi, we're going to find out. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I interrupted you.
no, we're good. I think also, like, you know, with the technology thing, I think if you think that, like, now when you're, say, using Ableton or whatever, do these things kind of push you algorithmically towards something? Is, I guess, what you're saying, like, choose a scale, choose a BPM, choose these suggested rhythms. I don't know. I mean, I think electronic music's always had an amazing ability to, like, consider one BPM a different entire genre.
Well, I mean, it's
anyway. It's insane.
The reason, famously, that dubstep was at 140 BPM is because the default tempo on Fruity Loop Studio was 140.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
True story. Yeah.
I mean, I think I quite like random constraints. Like, the reason I think I got into modular synths originally in the first place was because I was so bored of my own piano playing that I decided that I was like, I'm going to give this computer a set of rules and see if it makes something more interesting. And then you take that and then you redevelop it in different contexts, I guess. Because everyone becomes bored of their own creativity, and that.
Yeah, absolutely. And change is as good as anything, really. And when you make a big stylistic or, you know, technological shift, or just introduce something fundamentally different into your process, suddenly, I mean, it can do anyway, unlock something completely great.
Sure.
Occasionally.
Yeah. I mean, I probably spent 99% of those hours just doing it.
Right. I mean, modular synth is like, perhaps not the most efficient way of doing it, but absolutely. Anyway, tell me about the advent of your solo stuff. I was reading about what sounded like quite a scary experience DJing, or not DJing, but performing at Printworks before too many DJs.
Yeah, so, well, again, they say nothing good happens after 3 a.m. About 4 a.m., SG Lewis and I, Sam, who's like a very, very close friend of mine, he was at a party of mine at my house, and I was playing him this like techno beat I'd made on this Electron Swedish drum machine. And I didn't even have the headphones, so I couldn't hear. And I was like very kind of drunk, and I was playing this thing, and he was like, dude, he's like, you should do this at Printworks. I've got a show in like a month. And I was like, sure, yeah, that's obviously never going to happen. Next morning, I wake up, my manager's saying, why is Sam booking you to play Printworks? It's like 1 a.m. She's like, can you even DJ? And I was like, yeah. So then basically it was in between, Joey Reid and too many DJs. And that's why I started doing the kind of more hybrid stuff, because I was like, I can't DJ like those guys can DJ. I mean, I could DJ, but I just like hadn't had a lot of experience. I hadn't done many gigs. And it was my first like actual proper show for years. And it was 1 a.m. main room. And I learned so much that night, because I was really sort of over particular with my preparation. So I was like, I knew exactly what I was doing at any one moment. And it worked in a lot of ways. I was doing a lot of kind of technical stuff, and then I was doing a lot of stuff on the synths, and I even played that Electron beat for like 15 minutes. It was just going off. I couldn't believe it. Okay. But it was more that learning, that was because I didn't have the thing of like being able to, I could feel the moments where I was losing like the back of the room, for example, which is a really interesting thing that I hadn't felt before. But I just knew that I wasn't going to be able to just stand up and DJ in the same ways the other guys had done.
How nerve-wracking was that as a general experience?
It was kind of, it's hard to describe. It was like, well, I did do about a 10-minute ARP intro and then dropped one of my own techno tunes I hadn't released yet and left the bass out. And I was like, I thought this was a heater. And like, but there's just, then you realize that kind of took all the nerves away. Because then when I put it back in, I was like, fine. You know, it's kind of interesting, that thing about making a big clanger early on and it's taking your nerves away.
So we do.
I've had it before in other contexts. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was the sort of jumping off point for doing what became the sort of solo stuff, right?
Yeah. And then so I've just had a lot of, I guess I developed a lot of club ideas, and I just didn't really, I was always kind of scared of like just going into the club world. I don't know why. Like, and we were London Grammar was always kind of adjacent to the club world.
Yeah, it always had that. Yeah, it always had really good remixes.
Yeah,
remixes and stuff. I actually played the Paul Wolford remix of one of those tunes.
Yeah,
that was brilliant.
I think it's always, when I first started going to Ibiza, like it was just like there was the Dennis Ferrer remix of Sights, and then obviously there was a lot of Hey Now remixes that were just always going off there, and it kind of created, we have had this presence there somehow, and I think obviously being on Ministry has helped, but I just was always scared to just fully go for it, because I guess it's like, I don't know really why. I think it's kind of ridiculous. You realize afterwards, you're like, who cares? Like, what do you think that people do? What are you worried about? I guess you're always worried about what people think about anything that you do creatively, but it's like, no one cares. It's just your life and your decisions that you make.
Yeah. It's very easy to kind of make more of a big deal of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Than it is. Have you done London Grammar shows in Ibiza?
Yeah, well, we've done one. Okay. At Ibiza Rock. How did that go? It was really funny. It was great. Go on. I don't know. So they left us in the we were supporting a Lunar George. It was about 2013.
Okay, so early.
It was really early, and we supported them, and then I think that the main act goes and stays at Pikes, and the support act stays in the penthouse at Ibiza Rocks.
Okay,
which is this like sort of, it's basically the balcony with like a sort of roof, I guess.
Yeah.
And basically there's this hot tub with kind of no water in it. It just has like a kind of inch of like Lynx Africa and chlamydia at the bottom.
Right. But unspeakable things have happened. Yeah.
But it is kind of like, and then no one comes up, no one talks to you. It's kind of like, so we were staying there, and the show was kind of, it was actually quite good, but I didn't really realize at the time that Pikes was, I'd never been to Pikes as well, right. So I didn't have any sort of concept of, I'd never really been to, I'd been to Ibiza a couple of times, but not like, now obviously I spend a lot more time there, and I love the whole dance scene there. I think it's like, it's kind of interesting. It's quite split, you know. It has, I wish that Ibiza could have more of the presence of, say, like what the Berlin scene, you like, it just has this. But I think it's a magical place.
It is, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's changed a lot. And actually, just had a conversation on the previous episode that we've recorded of this with Joris Vaughan, who's played a lot there this summer. And it's one of those places where every year people say it's dead and have been saying that for 30 years at this point. But actually, the spirit of it seems to be enduring, right?
I think it's because it has this. I guess it has a magical thing about it in the same way. It's funny how there's like from an outside perspective as well, there's like an element of envy that goes into the kind of opinions that formed around it. But it's definitely, we on our first album, we were actually working with Rollo Armstrong for a while from Faithless.
Yeah, right.
And he's obviously, he got a place there in the 90s, I think. And he was saying that people were saying it was dying in the millennium.
Absolutely. So, and before that, to be honest, yeah. I think basically any point after 1987.
Yeah, exactly.
That, right? Yeah, totally. So, tell me about how the solo stuff developed, and then of course it's kind of like maybe culminated or developed into the Night Manoeuvres stuff. Like, in terms of performing it, I mean, and this is obviously what you've just been talking about at the conference. From that first gig at Printworks, how do you do it live, and how do you kind of like what is the relationship between making this stuff in the studio and playing it live?
So I think live we're really discovering this as we go along, but we sort of have various versions of how we would want to do it live. But I think we're just really conscious of initially today what we were doing was just fully jamming live. We had Ant was playing on an Ableton Move, and I was playing like an Obi synth, and we had running them through pedals and stuff. But I think we want to keep it. I've always been quite conscious of when people say the hybrid thing. I think there's too many DJs. It's probably a really reductive opinion, but there's a lot of DJs who are like really obsessed with the idea of doing stuff live, and I think it actually takes away from the experience of going to the club and listening to the music. Because I hear a lot of electronic music sometimes it just doesn't hit in the same way it would if they were playing it out of CD or playing it on vinyl, whatever it is. Yeah. And I think so. And Ant's very aware of that as well. I think he, like, as someone who's DJ for a long time, so we always want to keep the DJing thing like at the sort of crux of what we're doing. But really, it's just like removing the linguistic barrier between the thing that's in the studio and then like moving it to live. So I mean, but we've really done quite interesting venues so far as well. We haven't really played in a club yet.
Okay.
We did the Crane last year. We played the British Museum.
Okay.
As well, which was pretty mental. There was I remember at one point I looked over and there's a guy like standing on an ancient statue trying to take a video.
Okay.
And I think it got out on the forums, and then basically
that's going to go down badly.
It was people were trying to book art slots to come to the show, and then they were turning up all prim and proper, like, hello, like, can I come to the gig? But I think we've got our first sort of club show. We're doing Fabric Room 2 Takeover all night long on November the 30th. So we're just going to get a bunch of friends to come play with us. And we can't wait to just take it into a club. I mean, ultimately, the entire relationship isn't based around club music. So, yeah.
So, let's get technical for a moment. What are the key pieces of kit and stuff? Like, how's it all come together?
I mean, I'm obsessed with Erica synths. I have been for ages. I think most of the stuff I've been buying recently. So their pedals recently, I've used the Zen delay. So everyone I've showed the Zen delay is obsessed with it. Like George got obsessed with it.
Right.
Tristan got obsessed with it. Anne got obsessed with it. I kind of was like, I might have to hide it when we were going to the studio, because now you hear, I know you have to start.
I hate that when you hear a lot of records, you're like,
so annoying. It's just so good. So then, but they've released these 2 new pedals as well. But like, and also the Percons is probably what we do like all the drums on as well. A lot of them. But I think, so we have like an Oberheim, few pedals, a couple of different drum machines. We were using the Pioneer one a bit, and now we're kind of using more of the Ableton stuff, because we're trying to find a way. Basically, we don't want to have a laptop on stage. That's the aim,
right?
But it's kind of.
So what's the sequencer?
So at the moment, we've been using a couple of Ableton moves, and then I think in terms of, and then I send like sequences out of. I think the Electron's quite good. We're using like an Analog Rhythm Mark II and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And just trying to keep it as everything talking to each other, but try not to get a laptop on stage, because someone told me the other day about this. I've also started nerding out about like DMX and lighting and stuff, and we're going.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Go on.
Well, we want to do this project in I have like a sort of quite warehousey kitchen where we have I've got a bunch of lights and lasers and stuff, and we want to kind of do shows where we can do a full kind of live crazy light show in that context, but it's
Controlling
that
on the
yeah, but I think really you kind of need to start sending time code out of Ableton, and that's, again, I'm trying not to do that, so I'm trying to figure out a way of doing it without that. But
okay,
yeah,
nice warehousey kitchen, really.
it's quite warehousey. Yeah,
Sounds fun. Nice.
yeah.
Cool. Let's talk about well, we talked about tech. I've been wanting to quiz people about AI and music, which is on some level quite a boring conversation, but I think quite an important one. And people seem to have a wide range of opinions about it, actually, instinctively, as much as anything else. You know, I think a lot of it is just like, well, how do you feel? How does this make you feel? You know, as much as anything else. But obviously, there's like, you know, a wide range of ways in which AI is affecting the industry, but also the way you make music. I mean, obviously, there's the kind of like AI slop stuff getting uploaded to DSPs, but there's also a ton of, you know, really interesting plugins using AI. What is your instinctive thought
Instinctively,
on all of this stuff?
Instinctively, it's coming, it's there, that's it. But I think
You're quite fatalistic about.
I'm not fatalistic. It's like, I understand why you say that, but I think it's just like I was saying before. Every battle in human history between technology and humans, I think it's like, how can we make it something that we enjoy and have a fruitful relationship with? The fatalistic view is that AI is
taking over
the
everything.
conspiracy view is that, like, you know, AI will be funded and invested in by the companies that eventually already didn't pay the musicians and now will undercut the musicians, and then they won't need them at all.
Yeah,
but like,
that sounds quite likely to me.
Yeah, that's kind of, that's my view. No, I think for me it's more like sometimes there's maybe aspects of it that could be exciting to use, and speaking to AIs generally, like, prompting is most certainly a version of an art form in itself.
How much do you use? I mean, stuff like
for music, I use it 0 at the moment. Really,
have you ever played around?
I don't. Not that I have, and like I end up just making the most hilarious. I'm just like, make me a tune about like the dishwasher, and I'm like, yeah, I should quit music. That's a picture. But like, I think I use ChatGPT a lot, and even so much so that I use it to. I remember I was like going to sleep one night, and my ex-girlfriend was like, who are you talking to? I was talking to my AI, and I was like, can you make sure when you wake up, I was like, make sure you remember all my Buchla modules that I have. and then I woke up and I said, do you remember all the Buchla modules I have? And it listed off all the Buchla modules, and then it said, I was meant to tell you this morning, I was going to suggest to you some sort of ambient patch to use, and then I was like, yeah, I'm gone. I'm in, I think.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, ChatGPT, generally speaking, just as you say, an aid to. I mean, I use it a lot for researching this stuff, actually, and just sort of developing ideas. And it's worryingly addictive. I think that's the sort of observation I've had recently. And you do kind of wonder, you know, becoming completely dependent on it, how that affects the way your brain works, actually.
100%.
You know, outside of music. I mean, the music stuff is, I mean, there are great plugins that I have sort of dipped my toe in the water with. I say I'm instinctively a bit scared of it in music.
Of course.
And I feel like, yeah, breaking the seal might not be a great thing for my own stuff, you know, just ignoring everything else and what it's doing to the industry. But, I mean,
yeah, I think it's natural to be scared of it, and I think when I talk about the inevitability of it, it's not to say that I don't think it's going to cause a lot of issues for various people, but I think that it's just something that is, I don't know. It's like, I think a lot of the greatest creative people historically found ways to embrace technology in a way that was quite enriching, and I think.
Yeah,
it could be something amazing. But you're right. The thing about becoming dependent on it and it making us more stupid is really interesting, because I think, like we were saying before, what's the point in learning any foreign languages? What's the point in learning an instrument? But really, when you break down I think for music, for me in general, has been about relationships and meeting people. And when you're sat around a table or you're sat having a conversation with someone, that's when you really are performing in a way that is actually impactful in your life. You realize it was a conversation you had with someone, and perhaps if there's a generation of people who are unable to actually have proper human conversations, that will be to their detriment, because that's never going to go away.
Yeah. I mean, as you were saying that, obviously there are AI acts and AI bands, but can you imagine having an AI member of London Grammar? I mean, how would that, I mean, just that's going into my head now. And
George Fitzgerald.
Yeah, doesn't really exist. He's just this.
Yeah, he's a little plug-in now.
Yeah, right. But that's the kind of thing, especially with like humanoid robots, which are slowly coming very, very soon, which will happen.
Yeah, of course.
You'd assume quite soon. I mean, that's a very strange concept, but I think it's actually stranger than just having an AI band in of itself. Having
just an AI member.
The keyboard player is an AI robot.
Yeah, but I mean, people have been, the mix engineer was a real person, still is in a lot of cases, but people have been using Isotope for like 7 years now.
This is true, but they're not, in the photos, right?
Ozone's right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, listen, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Let me just ask you, as a final one, just to put you on the spot, and I hate these questions, but what are your favorite dance albums?
God, I'm so bad when everyone asks me questions.
I know, it's the worst question to be asked.
Obviously, John Hopkins' Immunity is got to be in there. And we kind of worked with John around that time. It was a really special thing to be able to do.
Yeah, he's...
And then there's a couple of like machine drum albums from back in the day.
Oh yeah, okay.
Kind of like
Vapor City.
Yeah, Vapor City was amazing. And then now my memory is fully gone blank. But yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, Dom, thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good.
Music, not diving, with Scuba.